Canto 27. Summary. As the flame containing Diomedes and Ulysses moves away, another comes up behind it, wailing. He hears Virgil dismiss the Greeks and, recognizing the Lombard accent, stops and asks for news of his hometown. It is another flame housing the soul of Guido da Montefeltro, a famous soldier turned Franciscan friar. Having no vision, he does not realize Virgil is accompanied by one still alive, and assumes they have themselves recently been sent down to this ditch. Specifically, he asks whether Romagna, where he served, was at war or not. Virgil prods Dante and invites him to respond, which he does. After a description of the political landscape involving places known to Montefeltro, the pilgrim asks the flame to recount his own history. Afraid of infamy should his true fate be revealed, but trusting his hearers will never return to make it known, he tells his sad tale. He gave up being a soldier to make amends for his life by becoming a friar. His besetting sin was not leonine, but rather vulpine. From Cicero on, see De Officiis, Book 1, the lion, leonine, represented violence, and the fox, vulpine, represented fraud, hence the analogy here. Though certainly, by some standards, a violent man, Montefeltro is punished in the 8th circle, not the 7th, for his fraudulent counsel to Boniface VIII, the prince of a new set of Pharisees. That final sinful act is related in the latter third of the canto. Boniface had promised to absolve Montefeltro of the sin he was being asked to fall into. Believing him, Guido gave his wicked advice and went his way. When he died, Francis came to escort his soul to heaven, Montefeltro being a Franciscan, but a logical demon, with a logically sound argument, claimed the friar for hell. Finishing his tale, he moves away and the travelers continue their journey. The canto ends with the pair coming to the 9th ditch of Malebolge, where they see the schismatics, those punished for causing division, those who earn freight by pulling apart. Canto 27. False Counselors. Already the flame stood straight and quiet, saying no more, already moving away from us with the sweet poet's permission, when another, coming up behind it, made us direct our eyes to its own tip with the confused sounds that escaped from it. As the bull cast in Sicily, made to bellow first with the tears, which was fitting, of him who had fashioned it with his file, bellowed with the voice of the afflicted, such that, although it was made of copper, it still seemed to be pierced with agony. And so, having no escape or way out of the fire from the start, the wretched words transformed themselves into its own language. But after, when they had found their passage up along the point, giving it a twist as the tongue gave them its shape on their way, we heard it say, "O you to whom I aim my voice," that was just now speaking Lombard, saying, "You may go, I will goad you no more. Though perhaps I have been somewhat tardy, let it be no cause for regret to stop and speak with me. You see, I'm not bothered, and I'm on fire. If you just now fell down into this blind world from sweet Italy, whence I bring the whole of my guilt, tell me whether the Romanese have peace or war. I was from the hills between Urbino and the mountain pass whence the Tiber flows." I was still enwrapped, bent over the ditch, when my leader prodded me in the side and said, "You speak. This one is Italian." And I, who already had a response ready, began to speak without delay. "O soul, who is camouflaged there below, your Romagna is not, nor ever was, without war in the hearts of its tyrants. But I left there now no open conflict. Ravenna is, as it has been for years, the eagle of Polenta broods above, covering all Servia with its wings. The city that had suffered the long trial, but made of the French troops a bloody heap, now finds itself below the green talons. The old and new mastiffs from Verruccio, who ill-manage Montagna, make augurs, there where it is their custom, of their teeth. The cities of Lamone, Santerno, the little lion of the white nest leads, who changes sides with summer and winter. That city whose flanks the Savio bathes, just as it sits between mountain and plain, so lives between tyranny and freedom. Now who are you? I beg you to tell us. Do not be harder than others have been, so may your name on earth keep its head high." Thereafter, when the fire had somewhat roared in its own way, The sharp tip danced about, here and there, and then it gave forth this breath. If I believed my reply were to one that was ever to return to the world, this flame, without further asking, would rest. But since never before from this abyss has man returned alive, if I hear true, I answer without fear of infamy. I was a man of arms, then a friar with Francis, thinking to atone, thus girt. And certainly my faith would have been whole if not for that high priest, evil take him, who cast me again into my first faults. How and why I want you to hear from me. While I was the form my mother gave me, both of bone and flesh, my accomplishments were never leonine, but of the fox. I knew all the tricks and clandestine ways, and practiced the art of them so well that the sound went forth to the ends of the earth. When I saw that I had come to that time of life when one ought to lower the sails and gather the ropes, what pleased me before I began to regret, thus repenting and confessing I gave myself over. Ah, miserable wretch, it would have helped. The prince of a new set of Pharisees, waging his war near to the Lateran, not with the Saracens nor with the Jews, for all of his enemies were Christian. No one had gone out to conquer Acre, nor yet a merchant in the Sultan's lands. Regarded neither the highest office nor his holy orders, neither in me that cord that used to keep the belted thin. But just as Constantine asked Sylvester in Soracte to cure his leprosy, so this one asked me as a physician to give the cure for his fever of pride. He asked my counsel, and I kept silent, for his words seemed drunken. And then he said again, "Let not your heart be suspicious. To the end I absolve you. Now teach me how to raise Palestrina to the ground. It is mine to bolt and unbolt heaven, as you know, for 2 keys were given me that my predecessor failed to cherish. With weighty arguments he compelled me, there where my silence was the worst counsel, and I said, 'Father, since you wash me clean from that sin into which I now must fall, a long promise with a short attending will bring you your triumph on the high throne.' When I was dead, Francis came down for me, but one of the black cherubim told him, 'Do not take him, do me no injustice. He must come below amongst my minions, for he gave fraudulent counsel since when till now I have had him by the short hairs. Who does not repent cannot be absolved. One cannot repent and wish together. The contradiction will not allow it.' Oh, miserable me, how I shuddered when he grabbed hold of me, saying, 'You, perhaps, did not think that I was a logician.' He bore me down to Minos, who twisted his tail 8 times around his hardened hump. Having gnawed it with tremendous fury, he said, 'He belongs with the thieving flames.' Therefore I am lost, here where you see me, and moving round so clothed, I rue my fate." When it finished speaking in this manner, the flame took itself away, lamenting, twisting and thrashing its sharp horn about. We passed beyond, both I and my leader, up along the ridge, toward the other arch that spans the ditch, where penalty is paid to those who earn freight by pulling apart.